Hello and welcome to the Connection podcast series. Today we are starting a Getting Technical series where we're going to be looking at various aspects of the process of making corrugated board, folding carton board, and the processes involved with converting those substrates. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Danilo Maugeri, who is the Global Product Manager for ISRA Vision. And we're going to be talking about inspection and the importance of inspection in the printing and converting process. So Danilo, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, hot topics at the moment, we're looking at obviously waste reduction, cost reduction, obviously the big buzzwords at the moment, circular economy, sustainability. So let's start by asking you to sort of give us a little bit of overview as to why we need to raise the awareness for defect detection.
So hi, Daniel, thanks for having me here. Defect, when we talk about defects, typically the first reaction would be to think about design. What does the product look like? We think about brand colors and the quality, the way everything looks like. So basically design. But I think, especially nowadays, defect is much more than only that. We have the point of liability. I mean, of course, especially when you think about food packaging, nutrition information and all that are things that are a must have on a product. And of course, a very important thing is also the accuracy. All the printers now will, of course, understand, we speak about registration, having a very accurate and, again, good-looking product, but also the readability. Why is readability important nowadays? Especially if we think about newer technologies, thinking of, for example, of barcodes, QR codes, data matrix codes, and all these new things that are coming up slowly but steady, are things that are actually a functional thing inside of the printed product, and therefore also the demand and the quality awareness needs to be raised in order to reduce your claims from the claims from your customers.
So it's interesting because you start talking there about the impact of customer claims, because obviously the last thing that the end user, the customer, wants is to have to reject a job, because obviously there's a lot of cost involved with that, and obviously then the impact on the profit margin for the actual converter. So I mean, obviously here we're talking about repetitive defects. So why is that so damaging?
Well, it's pretty simple. If you have a single defect somewhere, it might be one of the stacks, so you just somehow you just don't notice, or even your end customer will not notice, and even if he does notice, he might not raise a claim just for that. But imagine having a repetitive defect all over a certain amount of sheets or a certain amount of web length.
Okay, but I mean, if we start looking at where a defect happens, I mean, obviously it's not just on press that we're looking at, maybe the printed image or the folding accuracy, etc., etc. But why don't we go back to the beginning? Because obviously there's an awful lot that can be done in the pre-press as well.
That's correct. Typically, people will focus, when we speak about printing defects, of course, you might focus on the printing only. So what is happening on the machine? But of course, it's very important to have a clear understanding of the entire picture, because as you just mentioned, especially in the pre-press, many things can go wrong even before you started printing. And if you don't notice that, you can imagine how much waste that means in a result, because you will forward maybe wrong data somehow to your production line, and the production line will produce, maybe no one will notice. In the end, it will go through the entire production chain, so you waste also time on that. So it's a tremendous impact on claims, on damage, of course, of resources.
And Danilo, it's also interesting that obviously there are now validation tools that have been developed that are checking, the software, that they're looking at the pre-press files. So even now they can be checking things like spelling mistakes.
Correct.
There's been an awful lot of developments, and obviously within particularly the corrugated industry, where repro and pre-press tends to be done by an external source. It's obviously really important that converters are actually engaging with their design studios to ensure that, again, looking at PDF validation as well.
Correct.
If we then start looking at verification, so obviously there's barcode verification, there's variable data, and of course the interesting thing is with some of these systems that they're actually able to go across multiple processes. So whether we're looking at litho, whether we're looking at flexo, and now obviously digital printing as well.
Yeah, exactly. As I mentioned already at the beginning. Our systems are cross-applicable, and beyond inspecting the regular inspection, the regular printing processes, as you just said, litho and rotogravure, of course, the digital market has been growing during the past months and years, and we started also some developments there. And I can tell you, it's a different challenge, it's a different process. But especially when we think about variable data, barcode verification, the entire thing's changed. So also the awareness of defect types changed. And this has been a demand growing in the market extremely, also in the corrugated market.
And if we talk very specifically about digital printing, because obviously the benefit of digital print is that you can produce a very specific number of sheets. Obviously, you're not thinking about overruns, etc. Now, obviously, if you've got variable data and you are inspecting that, now if a sheet gets rejected, that obviously generates quite an interesting dilemma for the converter, because obviously that data then has to be fed back into the loop to recreate the sheet. Correct? Yeah,
that is correct. So you need a very, very good tracking workflow for that. And of course, a good reprint loop, because otherwise you're going to miss that data, you're going to miss that portion of your production.
And Danilo, if we start now talking about the actual, the equipment manufacturers themselves, because obviously I know that your particular company has close dialogue with some of the leading companies. Tell me a little bit about how the OEMs are addressing detection, and what kind of projects that you've got going on with some of these OEMs.
Well, yeah, I can tell that we have different models, speaking about OEM and partnerships. And it's very, very interesting to see how different the requests are. We have discussions going on where we actually, in a traditional way, we offer the entire system as it is with our own hardware and everything. But we have also models where actually our partners were excited about having only our software, for example. And the same thing goes on from different perspectives, also for having their own software by using our hardware. So you see, there are many things going on. And on top of that, one thing that is actually quite new, which is going on, is also having our partners integrated in our development process. And why? Because at some point we figured out that, yeah, we have great ideas, we get feedback from customers, but somehow we miss the connection, the direct connection to the actual supplier, machine supplier or others. And having these people included into our development process is a great benefit. And
when a converter sits down with you and you start talking about image inspection and data verification, it could be easy to think that really this solution is for the higher end presses, that the high quality post print for corrugated. But interestingly, I saw that you did an installation, I think, on a Mitsubishi Evo, a high speed case maker, which of course is not renowned for being the best printer in the world, but it just shows that image detection actually is applicable whether you're running mega long, high volume, basic print corrugated or high end, quality post print. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think the quality itself, it's not a matter of good looking or product value. Again, as mentioned before, it's about having a repetitively good product, regardless of the actual quality expectation of the end customers. And therefore also these our products are essentially very, very easy to adapt to each quality demand. And there are several good features for that, such as defect classifications and understanding what actually a defect is. And by that, we can address the corresponding inspection capabilities.
And I mean, is this the kind of application that can be retrofitted as well? So very easy to retrofit?
Absolutely, yeah. We speak here about modular systems. So of course, we live in a world of standardization. We want to reduce costs, as you just said. So there is standardization, of course, there's off-the-shelf products. But where we were coming from is essentially what you just described, retrofitting and adaptation. So our systems are modular. You can add as many cameras as you want. You can add different type of illuminations and adapt to each machine as you require.
And you know, let's get to the nuts and bolts now. So obviously, a converter is going to look at this and realise that obviously we're looking at reducing waste, which puts a significant number on the bottom line. But do you have any sort of statistical data that you know you can sit down with the customer and say, you know, the return of investment will be? Is there a clear sort of definition as to
Of course, it's 6 months.
Okay, so that's actually you know, just shows how fast this kind of system can pay for itself. Well, listen, Danilo, thank you very much indeed. This has been a really fascinating insight into the importance of obviously looking at how we can help converters, you know, come to this sort of stage of zero defects. So just to recap, we're looking at ensuring that the pre-press files are accurate. We're looking at the verification of the actual printed image. We're looking at the data integrity within this. There's QR codes and the barcodes. So Danilo, thank you ever so much indeed. And I'm sure that you'll be presenting some of these solutions when you're joining us at the Connection Virtual Expo in June. So we're looking forward to having you there. So thank you ever so much indeed. And I'll look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
It was a pleasure, Daniel. Thanks a lot.